See, the game is lame and absurd, but you spit. You need to sit back and observe a certified pimp. He's so fly. Oh, yes, he is. I mean, that boy just the shit. He's a mess, he is. Fresh to death. Ain't nobody fresh as he is. They can't compare or get next to him because he's so fly. I mean, the boy's so clean. From his white tee on down to those jeans. You see the ice in the pinky.
All right, what's good? What's good? What is good? It's your man's Ken Jackson. This is the Ken Jackson Experience coming to you live tonight from beautiful Fort Pierce, Florida. It's been a little while. Well, it's been a week. I did go do a show last week in case you missed it, but it's up on the website, www.crazybabytvworld.com. And if you tuned in, go ahead and subscribe to the channel. Help me out with the algorithm. Doesn't cost you anything, and I would surely appreciate it. So, what are we doing tonight? Well, talking about a few things. Election time is coming up, and it's very important that you get out and vote, because a lot of people I'm hearing, a lot of people close to me, a lot of people that I know say they're not voting because they feel like their vote doesn't count. But I don't know how many times I can reiterate this. Your vote counts. It counts tremendously. And if you're hoping Donald Trump doesn't get reelected to another term, then it's important to understand that you not voting is literally a vote for Donald Trump. So yes, your vote does matter. Your vote counts. If your vote didn't count, why would the Republicans be fighting so hard to restrict your voting rights while the Democrats are fighting so hard to earn your vote? Because both parties know that one vote does matter. So if you're going to sit at home and sit out this election and we get a Trump administration, then hey, it's your fault. We get what we get when we don't participate in the system. I'm not telling you have to vote for Kamala, but I'm encouraging you to, because the alternative is nothing good for any of us. That is a fact. So just the other day, I think it was yesterday actually, Donald Trump did a rally in Wisconsin. And let me tell you something. That was something to behold. I watched it, and oh my God, I can't even tell you. I can't even tell you how depressing and scary it was to witness what was going on. So I just couldn't believe some of the stuff he was saying, but at the same time, I wasn't shocked. I wasn't surprised by what he said. One of the things that got me was, as usual, Donald Trump's talking about his crowd size at his rallies. And he was claiming that, we were going to do it in this big hall, but the city wouldn't let us, they gave us this small venue, so only a couple of thousand people could get in. But outside, there are, 25, 30, maybe 40 to 50,000 people standing outside who wanted to come into the rally in Wisconsin. Needless to say, that was a lie. It was a humongous lie. But in fact, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to play the clip and let you see for yourself what this dude was talking
Something
about.
Special, but outside we have thousands and thousands of people. Would anybody love to give up their seat? So we were going to have a thing outside someplace in an area where we could have held the people. And I would say, what do you think, 40, 50,000 people at least out there. This
40,
one almost all the way to the
people
airport.
outside.
And
Wasn't
looked like
even
when
close to it.
Lindbergh landed in New York. Do you remember that? He had all the way, the Broadway, the way they used to do it. And this looked like it. But thousands and thousands of people.
Thousands
And they all
and
could have had a lot of
thousands.
fun. Instead, now they're probably leaving and walking back home.
There was
because
literally
we have
nobody
a nice
outside.
little room that probably holds 1,500,
why they never showed it.
2,000, maybe less. And outside you have 40, 50,000 people.
Come on. Really, Mr. Trump? 40 or 50,000 people standing outside? I'm like, knock it off. Knock it off. And then he had the nerve to say nobody goes to Kamala's events. Kamala Harris has been, I'm not selling out, but she's been packing stadiums since she became the nominee. She's been packing out literal stadiums everywhere her and Governor Walz have been, to campaign. Sometimes 2 stadiums in the same day. She's hit multiple cities in the same day, and it was standing room only in a lot of these venues, huge venues. But true to form, Trump says, first it was AI generated crowds. Now he's claiming she's busing them in, she's paying them and busing them in from all over the country, just to fill one venue, this, that, or that. Listen, we are so sick of the Trump bullshit, it's not even funny. It's the same as the immigrant thing. Millions and millions of criminals and rapists and murderers are coming across our borders, because of Kamala Harris. First of all, Kamala Harris is not the president. So she doesn't set any policy. Zero policy. Kamala Harris sets no policy. Understand that. She has zero authority to set policy in the current administration. She's the vice president, meaning that her job and mission is to serve at the behest of the current president and to carry forward the policies set by the president, or to carry forth the responsibilities delegated to her by the president. So, Kamala Harris has nothing to do with immigration policy right now. All she can do now is carry out the orders of the current president, and that's what she does. She's never been the border czar, as Trump likes
Border
to always
czar
say.
Harris went to the border to lie in the most shameless and horrible way possible, at the very site where she released so much suffering, misery, and death.
Kamala was just
There's
at
no
the
greater
border
act
a
of
few days ago.
disloyalty than to extinguish the sovereignty of your own nation right through your border.
So there we see Donald Trump continues to lie. As I said, Kamala Harris has never been the border czar. It was never anything. It was never a designation given to her. It was never a duty given to her. Her actual responsibility, which she carried out very well, was to visit the 3 main countries from which immigrants were coming from en masse, and to address the issue that was causing them to come to the United States. And she did that. She did that honorably, and she did that very efficiently. Kamala Harris has a long history, though, of prosecuting human trafficking, illegal immigration, drug trafficking, and things of that nature. When she was Attorney General of California, she went at these cartels very hard. She prosecuted some major cases, involving human and drug trafficking and illegal immigration very effectively. She's very good at her job. Contrary to popular belief, too, Kamala Harris did nothing even remotely close to destroying the black community in California. I don't know where these stories come from. It's funny. I hear this a lot too within the black community that Kamala Harris locked up all of these black men and destroyed black communities and did everything she could to hold back black folks, and none of that's true. Kamala Harris was very effective at her job as being a state prosecutor, and it was her job to prosecute crimes based on the evidence brought to her. And some of the, she didn't always get it right, because nobody does. Nobody's perfect. Nobody always gets it perfect. And contrary to popular belief, she did so much to help not only black folks, but to help the citizens of California, which was her job. She wasn't elected Attorney General just to help black folks or Indian folks or people of color. She was elected to office to serve the people of the state of California, and that's what she did. Whether you like it or not, the fact that she was a prosecutor, I'm sorry. If we didn't have so many people out here committing crimes, we wouldn't have need of a prosecutor. We wouldn't have need of a judicial system. But most crimes committed here in America are committed by Americans, not immigrants, not the cartels. Most violent crimes are committed by American citizens. Most illegal immigrants come to this country legally. They come legally and then overstay their visas. These are facts. And it's real simple to look these facts up. And that's not to say that we need tighter borders or we need tighter immigration control at the border, because we do. But not just at the southern border, at the northern border as well with Canada. They never speak about the illegal immigrants that come through via Canada. But also they never speak about the European illegal aliens, such as former First Lady Melania Trump, who came here legally, overstayed her visa, at which point she became illegal, hooked up with Donald Trump at the Kit Kat Club in New York, where she was working as who knows what, but we all know what the Kit Kat Club was all about. Basically a high-end whorehouse, for the rich and powerful. But that's where Donald Trump met Melania, and we've seen all the pictures. Melania was basically a call girl. She was basically a porn star. Think about that. We've all seen the pictures. They weren't just made up. They weren't fake news. Those were real. Your former First Lady, and I'm talking about you MAGA freaks who love Donald Trump and his world so much, was basically a porn star. But she was also an illegal alien. Thirdly, not to mention the fact that she's an Eastern Bloc woman. You know what Eastern Bloc was? Former Soviet state. Slovenia. Or Czechoslovakia, as it used to be known. See, Donald Trump has more ties to Russia than the Bidens have ever had. You know, and he keeps talking about the Biden crime family. What about the Trump crime family? But let's talk about this, because here's another clip. Donald Trump talking about the millions and millions of immigrants, the murderers and the killers.
I watched this show that she put on. 4 years of the most incompetent border anywhere in the world in history. Kamala Harris traveled to the scene. In fact, she stood
why,
near
he
where
knows
I
how
put
to
up
pronounce your
border wall.
name.
That was
So
the backdrop.
disrespectful.
And in one of the most heinous crimes ever committed by any administration in American history, that's what she did by allowing these millions of people, millions and millions of people, to come through our border and make our civilization very unsafe.
Now, as he always says, that she allowed. Again, Kamala Harris sets no policy. She's the vice president. So she couldn't allow or disallow anything. There's nothing Kamala Harris can do right now to change any U.S. policy, to affect any U.S. policy. She follows the orders of the President of the United States, which she is not. She is the vice president. Now, when she becomes president, she's going to enact whatever policies that she sees fit, or she will attempt to enact these policies. But understand this too, nothing happens without the seal of approval from our Congress, House of Representatives, and our Senate. So when you go to vote in November, be sure to vote down ballot. Vote blue all the way down. Because if we have a president, no matter what party, if we have a president who doesn't have the full support and backing of the Congress, nothing's going to get done. Nothing's going to get done. This current Congress that we have now is the most ineffective Congress in the history of the United States. And we as a country should be ashamed. We should be totally ashamed of the performance of this Congress. But it's our fault. Because during the last election, although, we did elect the right president and vice president, we didn't get that House of Representatives taken care of. And it's the House of Representatives that controls the purse strings. It's the House of Representatives that pretty much control a lot of things in regards to the budgets, how money's spent, how money's allocated, so forth and so on. So, but in spite of all that, President Biden has gotten so much done. He's gotten the infrastructure bill done, which Donald Trump, who claims to be this super contractor, this super builder, but he got absolutely zero done on infrastructure. He also talked about, before he was elected the last time, he talked about eradicating Obamacare, and he was going to come with a much better health plan. Never came. Couldn't get Obamacare out of there, and still has no plan. He has a concept for a plan, but he has no plan for health care. He lies about having anything to do with Project 2025 when his name is directly mentioned in Project 2025 312 times. Or is it 321? I think it's 321 times his name is mentioned in Project 2025. And lest we forget that all of the authors of Project 2025 are advisors to Donald Trump, former advisors, future advisors, probably future cabinet members, so forth and so on. These are people who are all around Donald Trump. They're part of his current campaign. His vice presidential pick wrote the foreword for Project 2025. Yet Donald Trump claims he knows nothing about Project 2025, claims he's not a part of it, claims he doesn't endorse it. He says he has no idea what it even is. But, of course, we've heard him, lie about those things as well in the past. But one thing about the rally that he did do the other night is he finally admitted that he lost the 2020 election. Yes, he admitted it, and here it is. If you don't believe me, just hear it out of his own mouth.
No, I had the deal done, and then we had a bad election. We got more votes than anybody that ever ran for office. Think of it, more votes than any sitting president in the history of our country. We lost by just a little bit.
Hear that?
Just
He
a
lost
little
by
bit.
just a little bit.
I was told if I got 63 million votes, which is what we got in 2016, we got millions, millions, and millions more votes, more than anybody's ever gotten. More votes than any sitting president has ever.
Actually, he only got about 70 million votes. President Biden got 81 million votes. That was the most votes that anyone has ever received in the history of our country. 81 million people fired Donald Trump in the 2020 election. But yet, to this day, he has failed to concede that election. But as you just heard in his own mouth, out of his own mouth, he did lose. He lost by a tiny little bit, but he lost, and he said it. You know what I'm saying? He said that.
Forgotten, and just by a little bit. No.
All right, so you heard it. Donald Trump finally admits that he lost the 2020 election. So all you MAGA freaks out there talking about the election was stolen, you heard it out of the horse's mouth. It was not stolen. He lost. He lost fair and square, too. 60 court cases lost, dismissed, or thrown out on merit or no standing, meaning he didn't have a case. Republican legislatures in the contested states that he claimed he won, but he didn't win, that were all run by Republican legislatures who handled the recounts and handled the recertifications, said that he lost in those states. So let's knock it off with the election fraud, because there was no massive fraud. In fact, the little bit of fraud that was found was committed by Republicans. And let's talk about these recent assassination attempts. Had nothing to do with Democrats. Both of these idiots were Republicans. Both of these idiots were Trump supporters who are disillusioned with Trump's bullshit. They were tired of his bullshit rhetoric. They were tired of his losing record. They were sick and tired of the same old, woe is me, everything was rigged against me and everybody cheated against me and blase, blah, blah, blah. Donald Trump, get the fuck out of here. It's over, bro. And the only reason Donald Trump is running for office now is to stay out of prison. But mind you, if Kamala Harris wins this election, Donald Trump is going to do some jail time. And that's not a threat. That's just a fact, because the only reason he's trying to get back in office is so he can make all the federal charges go away. But this was always a question of mine, because even during this past 3.5 plus years, I've always heard the discussion in the major news media about whether or not Donald Trump could pardon himself if he were president. And because they said the pardon powers were very broad and they weren't really defined, and it didn't really make it clear on whether or not a president could or could not pardon himself. But it's very clear. The Constitution says no man is above the law. It doesn't say some men. It doesn't say no man except for the president. It says no man is above the law, period. So that right there tells you, no, a president cannot pardon himself, because if a president could pardon himself, he would effectively be above the law. And now, though, we have this illegal Supreme Court. Yes, they're illegal because President Obama should have gotten that last Supreme Court pick before he left office. It was over a year before he was about to leave office. And Bitch McConnell, see, I can come up with nicknames too. So Bitch McConnell decided, oh, well, we got to let the voters decide. It's too close to election time. Wait a minute. The voters did fucking decide when they elected Barack Obama. They decided when they elected Barack Obama to a 4-year term as president, and then an additional 4-year term, which he won by a landslide. So that's when the voters decided. And as long as Barack Obama was still in office, he was still in office at the behest of the voters. So he should have gotten to pick that Supreme Court justice just before he left office, because I'll be goddamn if Donald Trump was about 2 weeks from election and Bitch McConnell rushed through his Supreme Court pick. And Donald Trump, unfortunately got to put in 3 conservative judges or justices who he knew were going to do exactly what he wanted them to do, which they all lied during their confirmation hearings in saying, oh, no, we're not going to overturn Roe versus Wade because it's established law. It's precedence. It's a law that has 50-year precedence. So, no, we're not going to overturn that. And as soon as they get in office, as soon as they're on the bench, what do? They overturn Roe versus Wade. Justice Clarence Thomas, who should be in prison right now for all of the bribes that he's taken, you all know out there that the Supreme Court definitely needs to be restructured. I believe Supreme Court justices need to have term limits, just like senators, just like the presidents that appoint them. In fact, I would also go as far as saying the Supreme Court justices should have to run for their seat on the bench as well. They should be elected to the bench. Because when you have somebody that's appointed, basically given a lifetime job, a job in which we can't get rid of them if they do bad. Because there's really no mechanisms for removing a Supreme Court justice. So something has to change with the Supreme Court. They need term limits. every judge should have term limits. Every judge or justice, no matter what level of court they're at, should, in my opinion, should be voted in. And now, what would be a good term limit for Supreme Court? I would say 15 years. 15 years max. You know what I mean? 15 years max is in my opinion, what a Supreme Court justice term limit should be. Because it doesn't make sense that, no matter what kind of, what kind of administration or what kind of Congress you have in effect, the justices can be in there for 50, 60, 70 years right now. Really, literally, if they get put in there young enough, we got, as it stands now, we got justices that are going to be there for at least the next, 20, 25 years, maybe 30. And they're conservative justice. That's another thing. I think Supreme Court justices should be apolitical. Now, I don't know how you would really accomplish that because everybody, serves some sort, has some sort of political opinions, but I think politics should definitely be far from the bench. Justices shouldn't be able to even, litigate anything, in regards to politics. To me, it's a conflict of interest. It really is. Judges are supposed to be impartial. And I know it's hard, with humans to have a situation like that, to where you'll have, truly impartial judges and justices. But, something, has to be done. Something, some sort of changes need to come about. I don't know. We just got to figure it out. There's no easy answer to it, but it is what it is. But anyway, rehashing what I went over tonight. I'm not going to take any phone calls tonight because I really don't have the energy. I almost didn't do the broadcast, actually. I've been feeling real bad this past week, but, for tonight, which is, hey, show must go on, I guess. But next week, we're going to go real in depth, into this P. Diddy situation. We're going to be talking about some entertainment news. I got a couple of live guests lined up that I'm going to introduce y'all to, as far as, indie artists go, because we do, I want to focus a lot on the music industry, because that's where, I really spent, most of my adult life, working in, as a producer and manager. I've been involved in several other industries over the year, but the music and entertainment industry was my main thing. And, so I definitely want to speak on some things. I got a couple of artists that I've been, consulting, over the past few months. They're doing well. But I got some good insights to share with you indie artists out there. So if you're interested, tune in next Sunday, 9 p.m. right here, Crazy Baby TV World on YouTube. We'll be talking about, all things music and entertainment. As I said, we're going to touch on the P. Diddy thing because I never really have spoken on that yet. And as some of you know, I have a very, very brief history in regards to Bad Boy and Sean John, fashions. We, it's been a lot of years ago, but I did some work, as an engineer, on a few projects, for Bad Boy and for Sean John. Worked with a few Bad Boy artists, some years ago, and I got a few things, to say, that are, my opinions, some of my views on what's going on, and just the music industry in general, because there's a lot of craziness that goes on in the music business. Some of them sound, some of the stories you've heard sound real crazy, but I can tell you, some of the craziest ones are the ones that are true, and it's no joke. So we're gonna talk about that next Sunday. So please log on, tune in, sit down, take a few minutes, join the conversation, because phone lines will be open. Also for general discussions and general comments and topics. So that's what it's going to be. All right. So until next time, because I got some, short things that I put out, throughout the week, via TikTok and Instagram and Facebook, so be looking at us. We got some events coming up that we're going to be at, that we're going to be reporting live from over the next few weeks. Finally got my energy back to be able to go out and do things. As you know, I had a very tough last 2 years, medically. So, but I'm got my strength back, and got my mind back, because my mental was really fucked up, these past couple of years dealing with what I've been dealing with. But you know what? It's time to get back to work, and start having some fun again, and start, generating some interest, and hopefully, I can finally start building this channel up to what I, planned for it to be originally. I originally started this channel, it's been 15 years now. And we'll be back then. So until next time,